next episode of the OPOstories from the NBA. Today we've got a special guest, Kermit Washington. Hello, Kermit.
Well, thank you for having me.
As a person and a fan, NBA fan, a basketball fan, passionate in the defensive aspect of the game, I'm really happy that I've got the player who was 2 times in all defensive NBA team, and also was very good in the rebounding aspect. But before I start with asking you about the time you in the NBA, I'm very curious about the beginnings and how looks the basketball in the 60s and 70s when you start your journey with the basketball?
Well, I think that basketball back then was even more popular than it is now, because nobody had cars, nobody had the internet, nobody had PlayStation, all the different games. People went outside and they played basketball, football, or baseball. That was entertainment. Nowadays, kids don't even go outside. They stay in and play these games on television and on PlayStations and things like that. But back then, I loved all sports, and most of us growing up loved all the sports. I loved football, baseball, basketball, and I didn't play basketball till my senior year in high school. And I went out for the team because my best friend had a car, and he said that if I go out for the team, he would give me a ride to school and a ride home in the car instead of walking about 2 miles every day. So I said, that's good. I'll go out for the team. Now, I didn't expect to make the team. No, I expected to make it, but I didn't expect to play. And I didn't care if I played or not, to be honest with you. I just wanted to ride to school and to ride home. But if I was on the team, I could watch my friends play, and I could watch them with very good seats right on the court. So that was the beginning of it. So what happened, a couple of the guys got thrown off the team because their grades were bad. And all of a sudden, I started getting in a couple of the games. And I played good sometimes. Sometimes I played horrendously bad. And sometimes I never even got in the games. So when the season was over, the team was good. They had a good team. We had a good team. But I embarrassed myself because I was a pretty good athlete in football and baseball and everything else, that I said, I want to start practicing to become better. Not to be better to play college basketball, but to be better just to play better on the playgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beginning of the basketball.
And how did these different disciplines like football help you to better understand basketball, or to be better or the court? Do you see some advantages of being practiced before the football and the baseball?
Not really. I loved all sports, but I just hadn't played basketball very much. But one thing I learned is that you have to work at what you want to be good at. In football, my brother was a very good football player, and he was older than me, so we always would practice football. In baseball, I just liked baseball when I was a kid, and I was just good in it. I just was good as a baseball player. But when you got to high school baseball was not very popular. So you might have 50 people there at the games watching it. So I lost interest in baseball. Now, football, you'd have thousands watching football games, high school football. And you'd have about 500 people watching high school basketball. But for baseball, so I stopped playing baseball. But because I had embarrassed myself, I wanted to get better, not to go to college, but just to get better, to be on the playground or wherever I would play with guys. So I had friends that were good players that jump rope a lot. They helped them with their jumping ability. Then I read an article about a guy who was very famous here named Spencer Haywood, who's a Hall of Famer now. Hall of Fame ball player. And he had a weight vest. I said, well, that sounds good. So I bought a weight vest and a jump rope, and I started jumping rope. And I said, this would help my jumping ability. I got up to jumping 10,000 times every night with a 20-pound weight vest, every night. So I was able to jump without, I didn't get tired in the games. So down at the playground, which was only a couple of blocks from me, some of the best players in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia would come and play every Monday through Thursday. And so I would go down there. You'd have 100 people down there. And at first, I would never get into the games. I wasn't good enough. But as time went on, I kept getting better and better and better. And there was an opportunity to try out for an all-star team. And they had to let every senior high school player get an opportunity to try out if they wanted it. So somebody said, well, you're getting better. Why don't you try out for this all-star team? And this is only 3 months after high school basketball was over. And from not playing some games and not being very good, I had improved so much through those 3 months jumping the rope. And I said, I'll go out for this all-star team. And the coaches didn't even know who I was. They shouldn't have, because I wasn't very good. But they had to let every senior try out. Well, what happened is I tried out and I had improved so much. You know, I wasn't going to make the team because these are the very best players in Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. But I impressed. All these college coaches were there, and they were impressed with my hustle, my effort. So I had coaches from Georgetown, Maryland, George Washington, American University, Howard University, other schools like that say, well, we'll give you an opportunity to come here and play basketball. So I was just happy that anybody would want me because I wasn't a basketball player. And back in 1969, that's during the Vietnam War. So if you weren't going to college back then, there was a good chance you were going to go because there was a draft back then. They would just draft you into the Army and you go off to Vietnam and fight. And nobody wanted to go. Nobody wanted, but you didn't have a choice back then. And so I tried out for it. The coaches liked me. They liked my hustle. And they said I had potential. So I went with American University. I didn't want to go to Maryland University because they were getting to be pretty good. And I said, well, I don't know how good I'm going to get. I would like to go to a school that I have an opportunity to play. So I chose American University. And it was like a miracle. I went there and I did very, very well. I mean, extremely well. You know, I became first team All-American, UPI, I think, and led the nation in rebounding. My junior and senior year, I came in second my sophomore year to a guy named Artis Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. J was number 3. So but college ball was just fun. But I worked very hard. I started lifting weights every day, and I would jump rope or run the stairs with my weight vest. So I was in really, really good condition. And I enjoy working out. And I didn't really understand the game. So when you look at my stats in college, nobody has matched them in 50-some years.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of rebounds, you know, because I just was in good shape. But see, when I didn't play in high school, a lot of times you put a ceiling on what you think you can accomplish. I never had any idea what I could or couldn't. So I didn't say, well, 20 rebounds a game is a lot of rebounds. I didn't know. I just said when the ball went up, I'm going to go get it. That's it.
Yes, and regarding rebounds, because as you said, two times you are the best rebounder in the NCAA. So I'm really curious about the secret of the rebounding, because you mentioned about jumping, that you practice a lot to be very good, to get the perfection in this aspect. Is the jumping the main issue which helps you to grab so many rebounds during the games?
I think you need a couple of things. You need to be aggressive as a player. You can't wait for the rebound to come to you. Wherever it is, you got to go get it. And when you're in great shape, you're not going to get tired. Most guys are too tired to go after the rebounds because they're tired. So they think somebody else will get it. But my thinking was, if it was an offensive rebound or a defensive rebound, I'm going to go get it, or I'm going to try to go get it. And I didn't know the difference of an offensive rebound and a defensive rebound. Nobody ever told me. I just said, let me go get the ball.
Mm-hmm. And this hard work makes the effect that in 1973, Los Angeles Lakers selected you with the 5th overall pick in the NBA draft. So what did surprise you the most when you appear in the league?
Well, when they drafted me, I was a 5th player pick, but the Lakers had just gone to the championship series the year before in 72, 73. So they said to me, well, we don't think we need you right now. We want you for future, team. You can play, but we have guys that are better than you right now. And I sat on that bench for 2.5 years. And they were right. I wasn't going to get off the bench. But I went to a coach named Pete Newell, who was the general manager, who was the guy who drafted me, who was a very famous college coach. And I told him I needed him to work with me because the assistant coaches that we had were great guys, but they were point guards, and they didn't know how to help me as an individual player. So I got Pete Newell to work with me on offensive moves, different things I needed to learn. And as soon as he worked with me, my 3rd year, I was playing a whole lot of basketball from that point on in my career because of his teaching, his learning, what he taught me. It was all perfect.
And when you say that you spent 2.5 years on the bench, I'm just curious. Did you practice only individually and with the team, or was there also, of course, that there wasn't this kind of G League like today? I guess that the infrastructure and that was different. So you mainly training only with the team and with the mentioned coach, or do you also get the chance to play basketball in the different places?
Well, during the summertime, yes, you play in the summer league, but during the year, they didn't have all the things they have now, and so all I did was just keep practicing, lifting weights, doing the jump rope, trying to get better. But the difference is I played center in college, and in pros I had to play the forward position. And you have to realize it's a big difference. The center back then, not now, had his back to the basket, played with his back to the basket. And now the forward position, you played facing the basket. And it's a big difference. And I had to learn how to play basketball facing the bucket, facing the basket. And Pete Newell worked with me on that. And that's what got me to be able to be successful in the NBA at the forward position.
Mm-hmm. And I guess also that when in the 75-76 season, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar appeared in the Lakers, it was another step and another person who helped you to become the better player on your positions. And how do you remember cooperation with the Kareem, and how did he mentoring you during that time?
Well, Kareem was, as I said, right then, I think the best player in the league. And he was very, very important. Now, he made me better in a sense because you want to play well with when you're on the team with Kareem. And so you just work harder. Now, did he work with me on moves and stuff? No, not at all. But by playing with somebody who is an excellent player, it motivates you to make sure you don't make as many mistakes. You try to be as good as you can be to make sure you help him to reach his goal and for the team to reach their goal.
Mm-hmm. And this work, when I look at the stats, of course, stats doesn't show any aspect of the game. There are only numbers, but in the 76-77 season, you've got almost double in points and rebounds, and it looks like your career, as you said, after these 2.5 years on the bench, that suddenly your career were on the right place. And the beginning of the 76-77 season, it looks a bit like there was a spirit of the boxing in the Lakers, because there was this fight with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Kent Benson. There was also this accident with the Rockets game. As usual, it's different from the fan perspective and different from the player perspective. And how do you think? Do you've got this situation moments that you think that how different would be your career if there won't be this accident during the game versus Rockets?
Well, I probably would have stayed with the Lakers and won a championship. Yes, but that was something unfortunate that happened. Rudy Tomjanovich is a great guy. I didn't know who he was, but his teammate is the one that elbowed me and punched me in the face, that started the altercation. And so when Kareem grabbed him, I turn around and I see that Rudy running right at me. So you're going to believe that maybe he's coming to help his friend. You don't know. And so I reacted, and he was hurt. And it does change your career, change your life. It changed the views of how people viewed me. And it was difficult, but you had to get through it. I was traded to the Celtics. The Lakers didn't want me anymore. It's not that they didn't want me. It was just with Kareem getting in a fight, and then I'm getting in a fight. It wasn't good for the bottom line. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sent to Boston Celtics.
And you've got the chance to talk with Rudy Tomjanovich, I guess not in that season, but after many years that you could face-to-face discuss the situation.
Yes. I told him I was sorry about what happened. But, he has to understand, when people are running at you in a fight, you have to react. Especially when the initial fight was started by his teammate. It wasn't started by me. It was his teammate. And so it was an unfortunate incident. It still, that's what people remember me for. Not you don't want them to, but that's what you're remembered. Or I guess I wouldn't be remembered at all if it wasn't for that incident, probably.
Mm-hmm. And you became the Boston Celtics player, and do you think that this trade saved your career, and being with Red Auerbach and this organization from the East Coast help you to still be in the league and doing next steps in the next seasons?
Well, I played better after that incident than I played before. So the incident didn't affect my mindset at all. I just had to keep working and do really well. I was just a good team player. So whatever, I was told to do, I would do. Because I love the game of basketball. I did. I love all sports.
Mm-hmm. And after a season with the Celtics, then you were traded to San Diego Clippers and spent there a season, then go to Oregon, and with the Portland Trail Blazers, you played 3 seasons there. And when we look at the paper that there's All-Star game nominee 2 times in all defensive second team, was it the best time in your career? Because this awards show this, but do you feel that it was really the best moment, the best Kermit Washington play in the NBA?
I don't know. My last year in the Lakers, I played very well. I played well in the Celtics. I played well with the Clippers. I played well with Portland. But I was, you know, I was just a role player. When I was told to do something, I did it. And I was pretty healthy till my third year with Portland. And then I got injured. But the problem was back then, I played injured a lot. I think a lot of players back then played injured. Now they don't play injured like we were. They take a day off or 2 days off. But we were taught growing up, you play. If you don't have a broken leg, if you don't have blood coming out of your body, you're supposed to play. Mm-hmm. And so that shortened my career by playing hurt. But I have no regrets at all. No regrets.
How do you remember this All-Star game weekend in 1980 from the player perspective?
Well, for me, I never considered myself the caliber of an all-star player. That year, I was playing well. The beginning of the year, probably about 15 points and 12 rebounds or something. And I think the career in that year ended up like 13 points or 14 points and 10 rebounds. I'm not an all-star. I knew that, but they chose me for being an all-star. And I was glad to go, but I knew in my mind I wasn't an NBA all-star. I mean, we had all-stars then. I mean, you had some great all-stars. But I was happy to go and happy to participate in the game. And but I knew I was not an all-star. But I was just happy to get the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And at the early 80s, you retired, but after 5 years, you came back to Golden State Warriors in the season 87-88. And I'm just curious, as a player who started his journey and the career in the NBA in the early 70s, and then got the chance to be at the late 80s, how different was NBA from those 70s to 80s?
The game was becoming faster. It wasn't as slow anymore. It became faster in the sense where back in the 80s, early 80s and the 70s, late 70s, the only teams that really ran were the Boston Celtics and maybe a couple of the ABA teams that came over, maybe the San Antonio Spurs or somebody like that. But most of the teams would bring the ball up slow, and it was a very physical game. Now the game, as years have gone on, has become faster and faster, quicker. So you got to run now. You got to move. You got to move.
And when you look at current NBA league from your perspective as a very good defensive player, do you've got your favorite players when we are talking about this aspect of the game, defense aspect of the game?
Well, yeah, the game is different, as I said. When I played, the center was the most important player. If you had a good center, nowadays with them running up and down so fast, the point guard might be the most important player if he's good, but he's got to be good. If he's a good point guard, he could be the most important player now because the game is so fast. It's not like take your time, let the big guy gets down there, let him set up, let's throw him the ball, let him do his thing. Those days are over. I mean, they go up and down the court. They're better athletes than we were. Simple as that. They're better athletes.
Mm-hmm. And if you could choose and select your players from your teammates and create all-time Kermit Washington teammates team, who would you pick?
Oh, it'd be very easy. Kareem at center, Jerry West at the point guard, John Havlicek at the small forward, at the power forward, Maurice Lucas, and the shooting guard, so many guys. And maybe World Be Free.
Mm-hmm.
World Be Free. That's a good team.
Hall of Fame team.
Very good team.
And from the veteran perspective, if you could talk, for example, with the players who are rookie and start their journey with the NBA, what type of advice would you give to them to be for a long time in the league and got successful career?
I would tell them to get the best coach. If they have to get an individual coach that understands their position, and work with them.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you can from a person who knows that position. You know, don't get a center if you're a point guard. Played that position or understands that position, and it can help you. That's very, very important, because fundamentals is the most important thing. From each position, the fundamentals.
Mm-hmm. Kermit, it was my last question. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with you. I'm really also fan of the NBA history, so it was glad to come back to the 70s and 80s. So thank you very much for your time and also for this knowledge that you share with the NBA and basketball fans here in Poland.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. Take care.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a nice day and Thanksgiving as well.
Very much.
Okay, thank you.